Becoming a minister was one of those risk-taking journeys as well. That started with simply going to church, teaching a few classes here and there, then looking up the requirements and filling out an application, doing a seminary interview. Now, don't get me wrong, it is not an easy path. I worked hard, but mainly it was grace that just made it the right time for me, for my internship church, for a sabbatical ministry, for my ordination. It was grace that made it the right time to lead me on a journey that would land me here. So what I have learned about expectations is that if you want your right now to change, then all you have to do is get on the plane. Do the next most realistic thing. Take the next step that you can actually take. It sounds deceptively simple, but right now is the only time that you have to begin to make decisions that will change your life. I couldn't expect then that I would be where I am now, although I dreamed about it. But I could expect the next realistic baby step as possible. I could fill out the application. I could take the next class. I could get dressed, get in the car. You get the picture. But see, in my reading on expectations this week, I found article after article that says that the key to happiness is actually to lower your expectations. Research has shown that Denmark actually is the happiest nation in the world. 2/3 of their population report that they are very satisfied with their lives. And the reason they claim they're so satisfied, these researchers say, is because Danes have low expectations that are consistently met. Now, Danes also tend to be healthy and partnered and active, all other things that contribute to their happiness. But researchers claim that Danes also have low expectations, and so year after year they are pleasantly surprised to find out that not everything is rotten in the state of Denmark. But about once a year, some new study confirms Denmark's status as the happiness superpower, and the Danish people receive this news with reluctance. Their newspaper headline recently read, "We're the happiest lige nu," they say. Lige nu is a Danish phrase that means literally, for now. So we're the happiest for now, just now. Now, I think the researchers have got it all wrong. The emphasis should not be on the data about their low expectations. But you see, low expectations do in fact dull pain. That is true. If you keep your expectations low, it will dull pain. But low expectations do not lead to happiness. See, I think the key to Danish happiness is right there in their response. It's about lige nu. It's about just now. About doing what you can do in the moment to change your right now. See, when the world is so pregnant with possibilities, there are likely hundreds or thousands of outcomes, even better than the ones that we could possibly imagine. But if your expectations are at rock bottom, why would you take any significant risk? See, it's the success of a significant risk that leads to the highest possible return. Stepping into the unknown and surviving, that's what leads me to gratitude. And gratitude leads me to happiness. Because that's how we keep learning and growing and thriving. So if we can keep our expectations high and guided by our values like that star in the east, and hold loosely to the outcome, making room for grace, for something that we maybe could never have imagined possible, then I believe we will see and feel happiness. Now, where expectations can be the most cumbersome is when we have expectations of another person's behavior. It's called the Pygmalion effect. Now, that's named after that short story that they turned into My Fair Lady. You know My Fair Lady? They turned it into My Fair Lady, the musical. Now, the Pygmalion effect is the idea that one's expectations about a person can eventually make that person behave or achieve in a certain way to confirm those expectations that the other person had of them. So a school example, teacher forms some expectations about a student on day one usually. Based on those expectations, the teacher acts in a way that presumes those expectations are true. The teacher's treatment tells each student loud and clear, and often even non-verbally, what behavior and what achievement that the teacher expects. And if this treatment is consistent, it tends to shape the student's behavior and achievement. And see, over time, the student's behavior and achievement will conform more and more closely to what is expected of him or her. And it's true in relationships too. Between spouses, with family, with our children, and with friends, what we expect hardly ever disappoints us. You know that around the holidays if you expect to get in an argument with your family around this time, right? Sadly. Likely you will. And some part of your unconscious behavior may in fact be participating in it happening. So see, our expectations are most often crafted from our past experience, so it's hard to let go of them. But when something new comes along, we try to cram it into one of those old boxes. And when it doesn't fit, sometimes we reshape what's in front of us to fit our own expectations. And when that doesn't work, we're forced to make some kind of brand new category. Just imagine if your family refused to fight with you this Christmas. Like, what would you do with that? But that takes much more effort and a willingness to let go. Now, expectations can be a big stumbling block for us, both personally and communally. There's this old story that tells it well about a man who hunted rabbits. One day, he's out in the woods, and a rabbit runs right past him and collides with a tree stump, knocking itself unconscious. The man could not believe his good fortune, so he runs up and puts the rabbit in his game bag, and every day for the rest of his life, he came back and watched that stump. Waiting for this to happen again. Not useful. But think about it. Where in your life are you sitting by that tree stump instead of taking a single step that you could take right now to change your life? That's what I'm saying. Now, the Abbas and the Ammas, who are Christian desert fathers and mothers, early Christians who lived as hermits in Egypt and the Middle East from the 3rd to the 5th centuries, they were often visited by spiritual seekers who asked them for guidance, and one of them, Abba Nilus, was asked about expectations. He said, "Do not always be wanting everything to turn out as you think it should, but rather as God pleases. Then you will be undisturbed and thankful in your prayer, and grateful and happy." And so it is at this time that we celebrate Advent, waiting for things to turn out, not only as we expect, but also as God pleases, letting go of those expectations, or holding on at least loosely enough to make room for grace. You see, Advent is a holiday that actually celebrates the waiting of another holiday. Advent comes from the Latin word adventus, which means coming or expectant waiting. Christians believe that the season of Advent serves as a reminder both of the original waiting that was done by the Hebrews for the birth of their Messiah, as well as the waiting of Christians for the return of Christ. Advent is about anticipating the arrival of the divine in the world. It's about expecting it. And the birth of Jesus, a child born from such unexpected circumstances, is our reminder that the divine comes in many shapes and sizes. The Jews were definitely not expecting their Messiah to come in this container. He was supposed to be a magnificent ruler and king.